Even though it's Miami who is ranked higher at number 6, Clemson actually tops the ACC right now due to, once again, alphabetizing things and also more conference wins. They are 4-0 in conference versus Miami's 2-0. And I'll tell you what, Cade Klubnik is looking incredible for Clemson right now. The Clemson receiver room is really taking strides. This is a really fun offense right now. And then the defense, led by Peter Woods up the middle on that defensive line, is incredible. This really looks like the Clemson teams of old. And I don't know about you, but I would love to see a Miami-Clemson ACC championship game matchup. I think that would be an incredible game. I would love to see Cam Ward versus this Clemson defense, and Cam Ward's been a little turnover happy at times, so Clemson might make him pay if he shows up like that. But both of these teams, I think, are very solid. I would take Clemson right now. I think it's a good matchup on both sides of the ball. I think the Clemson offense matches up better to the Clemson defense matches up better to the Miami offense than the Miami defense matches up to the Clemson offense. I think the Clemson offense would excel in that scenario because this Miami defense has struggled a bit this season versus Virginia Tech and Cal in those two games. Then the two teams behind these guys are the number 20 Pitt Panthers and the newly ranked number 21 SMU Mustangs. And SMU has joined the ACC and come out swinging. SMU did have a loss to BYU that is looking better and better every week as BYU continues winning each week. And then Louisville sits below those two teams. And before I move on to Louisville, how about Eli Holstein and Pat Narduzzi for Pitt this year? Both been doing an incredible job, and the Panthers are 6-0, and they've been really impressive so far, kind of come out of nowhere. But Louisville, Syracuse, Virginia are all teams that I think have slightly exceeded expectations for me. I know a lot of people are high on Louisville coming into the season. I just wasn't super high on Tyler Shuck. He's been slightly better than I expected, and the Cardinals sit at 4-2. But Kyle McCord has also been playing very well for Syracuse. He's been one of the more underrated quarterbacks in college football this season, I think. And the Syracuse defense has been more than serviceable so far this year. Virginia also been good. Anthony Calandria has been playing solid football for them down there. Tony Elliott has really got this team moving in the right direction, and they'll take on Clemson this week, so good litmus test for what you're going to get for Virginia the rest of the year. Then Georgia Tech, the Haynes King injury is brutal, but so was the end of that North Carolina game too, by the way. North Carolina with a brutal loss to Georgia Tech as they allowed a very long rushing touchdown in that game, and Georgia Tech picking up another solid win. This is a Yellow Jackets team that I think a lot of people got very high on after the Week 0 win over Florida State in Dublin, and then everyone figured out Florida State was terrible, so now it's kind of like, where do you go with that? But Georgia Tech I still think is at least solid, as is Duke, Boston College, and Virginia Tech. I think they're all solid teams with decent offenses. I will say the Stanford offense is by far the worst of those, even with Alec Ayumanor back there, although I didn't mention Stanford yet. But Stanford, yeah, the offense is solid. Alec Ayumanor has been good for them. But Virginia Tech, Kyron Drones has played really well. Boston College, you've seen a good bit from Thomas Castellanos. And I think Boston College had an advantage to start this year when you look at the green dot technology, because that's a mostly NFL coaching staff, so they've had experience with that technology. I really think that helped out the Eagles. I think now they're starting to kind of fall back to earth as other colleges figure out that green dot technology and get it more synced up and ready to go. Virginia Tech, I think a lot of people are going to say had a win stolen versus Miami. That was not caught. The ball was rolling around everywhere. It was not a touchdown. But Virginia Tech has still been solid this year. I like what I've seen from this team. The defense has been solid so far this season. I think there's definitely more upside to be found. I like a lot of the talent on that defense. It's just a matter of it all coming together and gelling. I think they really have a chance to do that the rest of the season. Wake Forest is awful. Florida State is worse. NC State, North Carolina, that game is going to be a disaster at the end of the year. People are talking about how bad Florida State was going to be for a while. NC State, North Carolina might be must-see TV just because of how awful that game will be. Obviously, prayers up for Grayson McCall. Bad injury for NC State a couple weeks ago. He's done the rest of the year probably. And then Cal is just hanging around in the middle there somewhere. They are 0-3 in the ACC, but easily could have won all three of those games. Really close losses to Florida State, Miami, and Pitt, two of which are very solid teams. But that is your ACC wrap-up for this week.